We are sitting down.
Did you get your tablet?
Huh?
Did you get your
I
tablet?
have not gotten it yet. I'm thinking about it this weekend.
Did you say cat?
Tablet. Oh, cats are from Satan.
My girl, you already got a couple.
I was gonna say, I don't think browser's gonna like that.
Cats are disgusting.
Oh, that just went out on Facebook. Better apologize to all those cat loving people. We love cats here at Polk County Education Association.
I do not.
You are welcome to yours, just like we're welcome to ours.
Oh, okay.
I left my kitty, so I don't have a kitty anymore.
Mine lasted for 23 years, so
So mine was-
baby.
23 years too long.
Jackson.
I'm good for now.
You're good.
Oh.
All right, so thanks for your patience. Laura, hold on for 1 second. Did you need Heather to repeat on the record what the offer is?
Yes, please.
Maybe because the screen might be blocking the voice.
Oh, they were saying that they couldn't hear us. So we need to use teacher voices.
Or can we adjust, even if we adjust the one microphone down beyond the screen of the computer? Here's my science teachers with the.
There we go.
All
right, that should be good.
Ready?
Right.
Okay. Our proposal was to increase the minimum salary for paras and ESPs to $11 an hour. Move them one level and grant a 2% increase. We also proposed that those residing at the top of the scale receive 3%, which is equivalent to one level movement.
Would we be adding another level at the top or no?
I think we're just adding it in like a COLA.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a 2% is like a COLA, and then the top would get essentially 5% in total. Because they get the 2% that everybody else is getting,
Plus the 3.
and plus the 3% for being at the top.
That is correct.
So in addition to that, we also have some language. I know that we talked significantly about 15.19 and a para, and I think ESP.
19.
ESP, I'm sorry, yes. ESP 1519 and para 19.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a proposed language addition to address essentially the level every year, right? So we recognize that there is there's a 2 levels, I'm sorry.
2 years.
2 years. Oh, I'm sorry. So what we'd like to do is at least try to figure out a way so that if the district does come under even more financial urgency than as outlined in the current contract, we can come back to the table.
Okay.
So the language that we're proposing, and I think Laura will email it to you.
ESP 15 and para
It
19.
works off of ESP 15.
It's the same language.
We worked off of ESP 15.
Okay.
The language says, in the event there is a fluctuation in the total funding per student received from FEFP for Polk County Public Schools greater than or equal to 2% in either direction, positive or negative, or if the unassigned assigned general fund balance is projected to fall below 3% in accordance with state statute, the parties agree to renegotiate automatic salary advancement. That's the levels every.
Mhm.
This provision supersedes 1519 and 15.19-1 and 15.19-2 regarding financial urgency above. So what we didn't want to do is go back to the table, right, and then have to declare financial urgency, right?
Okay.
We wanted to at least put forth a good faith effort, should either of those things occur, to come back to the table. Because right now, actually, the language just says the parties agree to discuss and review, but it doesn't necessarily say that we really come back to the table and look at what the actual financial impact will be and whether or not we can afford it. And that was really the concern. And then the other part is that we didn't necessarily want to declare quote unquote financial urgency, because when we looked at the statute, it says that we have to do it within 14 days. And if we don't agree, we got to go to impasse. And at that point, everybody's pretty angry.
Yeah.
So we're trying to avoid that,
Avoid that
right?
process.
So
Okay.
what we thought of is doing this, and then that way we can come back to the table, have a conversation. Jason and Heather will present the data
Mhm.
in terms of the numbers and where we are, why we're here, and then what we can afford.
Okay.
Make sense?
Don't agree. What if we don't agree with your standpoint on financial urgency?
Well, it's laid out though. I think the way it's laid out, it's certain parameters from what I heard.
Right.
Now if I could read it, like
Yeah.
if I could turn around. So I listened to it. So I just would like to read it, but
Of course.
the way I read it or heard it, it sounded like there were specific parameters set in which it's
Correct.
laying out that we would come back to the table. It's not, so they're objective, not subjective.
Right. So it's the greater than or equal to 2%
Mhm.
in either direction. So meaning even if it's positive and you all want to renegotiate the level increases, then we're willing to do that, right?
Okay.
If it's negative and we need to do it, then we're
Mhm.
willing to do it. So positive or negative in either direction.
Mhm.
Or if the unassigned fund balance is projected to fall below 3%. What we don't want is a situation where we have the 3% coming out of their office and then we're stuck,
Yeah.
essentially,
Right.
at the last minute. So we're trying to do that and be proactive about the salary level increase advancements.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. And you're emailing that now just so I can read it and Wilfredo can read it? Okay.
It's going to China. and
Right.
then- So we can team copies too.
Yeah, we'll print it.
I have another version to print. That's just a quick one to talk about.
Okay,
I'm formatting an actual.
that's fine. If this is the structure, we'll print it real quick so that they can have a copy too.
Thank you.
Control P and print that real quick for Connor.
Got it?
I have an actual proposal. Also. That's not going to make sense.
So, while Laura's sending the other part, talk to us a little bit more about projected fund balance. So what parameters would you be looking at? On what projections, what are the parameters of those projections?
If our projected revenue minus expense
Mhm.
would result in an ending fund balance below 3% for assigned and unassigned, then we would want to come back and discuss the automatic level, because if that could affect it and keep our financial condition ratio above 3%.
Mhm.
That's what we want to do, because at that point, it's when our superintendent would have to notify the board.
Mhm.
We have to go into a corrective action plan.
But not the regular ebbs and flows.
So if,
Yeah.
Fredo, did you get the second one?
I did get it. Do you mean
Go ahead.
the totality? If the totality, for example, if the totality of salaries, and I'm thinking, I might just kind of going a little bit fast, so hang on. If the totality of the salaries, right? let me,
No.
just give me a second.
Can I?
Yeah, yeah, I'm
I think
sorry.
I can help.
I think you,
Okay.
yeah,
So our funding is broken down into categories,
Yeah.
as you all know. So the FEFP, we have unassigned and assigned, which is what makes up our fund balance that's judged. We also have categories. So the way that we look at it is we take our total projected revenue, which is the FEFP. We have all of our budgeted expenses that lay out.
Mhm,
We track that.
mhm.
We also forecast it at the beginning of each budget year. So if we are building the budget for any significant year and we look at it, like we've done in our subcommittees, and we say, if we make these changes or if we continue with this level increase, it will likely drop us below 3%. Then at that point, we would like to come back and discuss that with you,
Okay.
similar to conversations we've had.
so the
Okay.
drop down, what would trigger this language is if the level increase itself results in dropping down below 3%.
Or just overall.
We're overall expected to drop.
That's one of the items you want to look at.
Yes, it's our overall calculation. It's
That's, okay, that's what I
calculated
want to.
Okay.
all new revenue less expenditures.
Yeah. And this is just saying we come back to the table, not necessarily that it's automatically gonna be gone.
No,
Right,
we
okay,
renegotiate. It's just like what we're doing now, right? And both parties would have to agree to it. So to Mary Ann's point, if you don't agree, you don't agree, right? But at least what we're trying to do is come back to the table,
Gotcha.
should this financial issue
Okay.
happen. And then we come back and really sit down and discuss.
okay.
We'll share with you our numbers. Hopefully you'll share with
Yeah.
us where y'all are,
Mhm,
then we can go from there.
okay.
And hang on. I just sent to the printer this.
Oh, okay.
draft.
that
So
they can see it.
the 2-year automatic increase,
Mhm.
that sunsets, do you have a sunset on that?
So it
It's a
would.
trial, right?
It would be like a 2-year,
It would be
3 years.
21, 22, and 22, 23.
okay.
It's just for the
Okay.
next 2 years.
And so this language will probably follow it too.
Mhm.
Correct,
So this
Okay.
language would also sunset.
correct.
Unless we decided to move
Re-
forward with it.
Yeah, I think realistically, so this is just from my perspective, obviously I'm not finance. I think it's actually fairly decent language to have in there for both parties. Because there's a reopener for you and there's a reopener for us in terms of the positive and negative.
Yeah.
So if,
So if they have an influx of fund balance
Yes,
money,
yeah.
we can say, hey,
if we get, 15%. Exactly.
I don't disagree. No, I don't disagree.
I agree with you, Tendra. That's a
Yeah.
very good point.
It's a great point. But the genesis of this language, right, it's really the discussion around the automatic level increases, right? So I don't necessarily disagree with what you said,
Mhm.
but that's really the genesis of this language. So, I don't know if for example.
the totality, everything would be looked at, not just the automatic level increase. That wouldn't be the first thing on a chopping block necessarily. Is that kind of what you're?
No, what I'm saying is this, is that the level increases being trialed for about 2 years, right? You take a look at it, see if it worked, any hiccups along the way, right? That sort of thing, because we've never done that before.
Why don't we talk about this language then? We'll see how it all works.
Okay.
Yeah, but, okay, because the way I'm understanding this is that this becomes a permanent collective bargaining. In other words, it doesn't set.
But nothing is permanent.
No, I mean,
We always strike language
We
anyway.
can strike and,
Yeah.
could always add.
yeah.
okay, all right.
It really is to protect both of us, give us both an opportunity.
Flexibility. Kevin stapling.
I'm sorry.
And then this language would mirror straight into 19. Whatever. Oh, okay. Oh, Laura sent both of them. Okay.
On the right.
She said,
Laura is fast and efficient.
Not on duty. Denied.
Laura is fast.
Come to the back nine with us at 5 o'clock.
I don't know what that is.
At 5:01.
5:01.
To make sure that we are all off duty. No, we need creative conversations.
No. And then in writing, the actual, the $11, the 2% COLA, the level increase, and the extra 3% at the top. Laura's, okay. Okay. Laura's a really fast typer. Um,
That's it.
How many more do we need?
Hold on.
oh, there's some back there. Okay.
Oh, we don't need it.
Yeah, so you guys have the language for Article 19 for paras and Article 15 for ESPs. And Laura is working on typing up the actual salary proposal. Oh, she's typing up the actual salary proposal.
Do you want to do it separately or you want to,
Do a wrap it up today.
Yeah, we can,
I'm sorry,
yeah, we can fund.
you want to start signing that?
Yeah,
And then that way.
yeah.
Well,
So you,
still give her time to, make sure we're clear.
Wouldn't this, instead of 15, would it be a 19 something?
oh, Laura. No,
Oh, no.
on,
You'll just mark it up for me because I've already.
okay, I'll initial it and then we can, it's just,
It's just a,
it's just on 19, she saw the 15
Okay.
article, so we'll just mark through that. So it would be in 19. It would be,
that's Wilfredo and you have it too, so.
yeah, yeah. So in the para, it would be 1920. 1920-1 and 1920-2. And then just initial.
Do you have a current projection on the FEFP in the state?
Yeah, for 21, 22?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I do.
No, but I can.
Yeah, we have it.
I don't want to miss. Actually, I have
I got it right here too.
Two separate books.
it. 757.
Susan, give me your, we're gonna swap. I messed this one up.
I did just do the 19.
Is
Edit, oh, that's perfect. I messed it up. I did it on the ESP one.
Wilfredo, are you referring, you want the amount per student as we specified
Yeah.
in there?
And
Yes.
Percentage. If you can do
For the
percentage,
FEFP?
It's just $1 now.
It is.
So it's 7,567. That's the second calculation. I mean, the third calculation will be coming out in
December.
December, January. That's based on projected numbers too.
All right. And just while we're signing, with the instruction during quarantine and like the COVID stuff, did you want to like have us hook a computer up to the screen so that we can maybe type together some things or? Oh, sure. No problem.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Laura.
We can hook Laura up.
There are two copies, one goes to the district, one goes to us.
Oh, my God.
So we have to have two copies with the receipts.
Yeah, so we'll sign both copies that are coming through, both pieces of paper.
I'll monitor the progress and make
Yep.
sure they get to perfect distance.
Thank you, Susan. Okay. All right, so and this is for people listening. So right now we're sitting around a tentative agreement for para and ESP salary increases. We are tentatively agreed to moving to a minimum hourly rate of $11 an hour. Anybody that's not moving to 11, you're getting a 2% COLA into your level, and everyone is moving an experience level. Additionally, people at the top of the schedule, you are receiving an additional 3% COLA since you don't have a level to move to. We are also have language that you will get an automatic step next year, because this is in place for 21, 22, and 22, 23, with language provisions that if either side, the fund balance goes either way, we can come back to the table and look at that.
But generally, those that are eligible for a level would have to have worked 1 day over 1/2. So
Thank
just wanna
you.
make sure that
Thank
we're
you.
Clear on that.
Yes.
So
So an experience level means that you worked last year in the 2021 school year for more than 50% of the year. So whatever days are on your contract, you worked half plus 1. So that you would be eligible for a level increase in that event. Level advancement, yes, thank you. And then I think next up on the agenda, once we get those signed, is we're going to be talking about COVID reopening protocols.
Are they good?
We have lasagna back there if you want.
Those are KMSA pickles. Cucumbers and cans of pickles.
Look at yourself.
you got your own lunch basket over there?
Robert, when you're done signing, if you pass it to Tony, please. And it'll be in a couple minutes from you to the.
I give it to which one?
Tony.
They sent us the.
Okay.
My nephew. His mother is making, I gotta rewrite his.
It's outside of Anchorage.
It's like very well. Just never comes out well.
Could you explain the shift going to know?
It's good.
Start to get creative where to sign it.
Let's do the John Hancock thing. Just
Yeah.
Look at me.
Tries to sign budget.
he does. Good for him.
Go up top. Yes, sir. And both pages,
Both pages.
the two separate books.
Maybe. It should be.
No worries.
Wait till there's an article that's like 10 pages.
Oh, well, then you get to abbreviate. You get to abbreviate.
As soon as they're done with the operations on it, they'll leave you all.
Someone have to explain that. Like
That'll,
30 people have to sign.
because they've got it split into two different things.
They seem to learn.
Like my pens.
For the show.
Put a- Nope, it's not an erasable. Got the end of it.
No, this is. You're right there, right?
Mhm.
Finally, someone who got creative. Sign up the side.
It's the only space available and my signature is rather large with the Tetra and the Porteous.
Don't forget your initials on the changes.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
I saw you do the first one. I'm just.
Oh, I already did that one.
Yeah.
Where has it?
Give you back. 19.
It's another one. You have to do two. Okay. It's another one.
Okay, you go ahead and have your district and we'll have Robert take a look at it at the end. Let's go ahead and let the district finish and then we'll bring it right back to you, Robert.
I thought it didn't, it's only down 2 papers.
That is two sets. Yeah.
It's on its way. We'll place it.
Oh, there it is. Let me do it the right way now.
You know how to do that?
Yes, Stephanie showed me. And I'm gonna go here.
Practice. Finishing.
Are you trying to staple? Oh, no, it's one of 2 pages. Okay, go
Right here, right?
Finishing.
finishing. It's just, oh, yeah, it's the staple.
The hand sanitizer.
Sure. And go up to 25 copies. That should be enough, I think.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah.
New or old?
Everything's new.
Everything's.
Very important question to ask, though. It really.
It's busy sending.
Thank you.
We bust out laughing. Took us and was about to eat it in the mouth.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm just sitting there looking at, he hadn't even touched the match. Over there. I'm like, let's go look. Let's go take. Now, you know, with slits in the mask for the mouthpieces. Like, maybe he got a slit in all his masks.
But I'd rather she will receive redirect. Well, we grew tomatillos, we grew. They both need to come back.
He signed one of them. He stepped out on the.
We're gonna let you live to see. Oh, I see, he only signed.
Yeah, he only signed one set.
Okay, gotcha. The district gets one copy, we get another copy. We grow those. You have signed. It's not mine. I'm not with her, but. You know, she's got- She wanted more space.
I don't know who signed.
Yeah.
Hey, better to have your name on there twice. Yeah, this one is not signed twice. My initial, I'm straight now.
Or keep them to documents.
Where is it? She wanted a science teacher, number 2. I mean, I could, I could.
I would say here,
Let me show you one.
I would clarify
Yeah.
who receive.
It's actually our labor intensive.
So Hank, you haven't sent the Paris yet, have you?
It's
Oh, no,
together.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
Let me see. I didn't- I don't know what to say. I'm blind as a bat. I'll let you write it, then I'll type it.
And I would say here that joint.
I don't know, it's not a bore. It wasn't my turn to watch it.
No, I had it from 11.
We'd like to, we're gonna have to change that.
That makes sense. Okay.
I mean,
Oh, yeah. 1 minute.
Okay. And then up here, would you guys be open to saying the joint subcommittee for support staff salaries? Because this is.
Oh, I'm okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Tom?
That's fine.
And everything else is.
Everything's good?
Yeah,
All
everything.
right, so on the ones we just passed out, ESP personnel and paraeducators, the 2 years, right? Bring that up.
Oh, my gosh.
Put it in the recycle, not the trash.
Yes. Yeah, we got
We do.
Yeah, I like the way that those two things. Exactly.
Thank you, ma'am. Here's, one attorney's not.
Thank you. You won't have me excited.
What's wrong with that one we just looked at?
That's all they're changing.
Oh, wait, there's some at the top too.
Oh, I didn't.
This for 34. 36.
So this.
Check with Stephanie. Okay,
That's from Stephanie to Heather.
that's from Stephanie to you.
Stephanie just asked me to make that change at the top. Is that okay?
Yes.
Very,
Oh,
very tentative.
At the very,
I know, like. Love it. That's great.
Any movement on the bus drivers?
Hey, we're not supposed to be having fun here.
They're in here. How would I know that?
No, yesterday.
Oh. We're still negotiating.
Oh,
You're still on mic?
yes.
You're still on mic?
Forgot about that.
You can't see the TV like I can.
Do you mind if we just say salaries?
That's fine.
I need to take out the year two.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Just gonna say salaries for.
And then ask me was included in the joint, so I don't want it to be confusing at all.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So salaries for.
Is that okay?
Oh, we can.
I guess, yeah, I think that's fine if we just put salaries here. I would like to have the second, even though, because I know whether that's too. And like, I have my question out, but I said, it didn't come out. Part of the, but it's not. No, I'm good, I'm good with that. So we just analyze it, that's fine. No, we're good. That's fine, yeah. No, I'm good with that.
Absolutely.
There was a
Signing place forever. It's like, oh my God.
I think I did a long time ago. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I know, I forgot about it.
For 10 months.
Thank you. It's fixing to be sent over.
Don't forget the staple.
Well,
I will. Angela, oh my God, Angela gave me the biggest, I did it twice to her. When we were doing the getting ready for the hearing,
Mhm.
I kept sending it and I didn't staple it. And I didn't- She said, what are you doing?
That extra step. I don't have a new tab.
Grandkids?
I have that one.
I feel like I didn't sign the ESP 15.
Oh, you did. That was the stapled.
Wait a minute, were you standing up when they came around, maybe?
Only signed 19.
No, you initialed.
No, you did both.
You did, yeah.
Here, hold on.
I did 2 and 19.
Yours are sideways.
No, I don't see yours on the
I
system.
only
It's
signed
one there. Only signed twice.
I see yours here, but I don't see Tedra.
I did a circle. Mine is a circle on the second column.
No. Right, yours is,
Right. Circle. I did that one.
Oh.
Did I do the ESP?
this was the ESP.
One page was para, one page was ESP.
Sorry.
Okay.
My fault.
Okay.
I thought we were supposed to sign 4 times.
I did.
So 4 total times, because you guys have your tentative agreement too. So we have one. So check yours, because your signature is on ours.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I can't count. It's me.
I don't think I signed page 2 very well.
We'll do.
Yes. No, I have you on the front.
It's been a long time.
I got you.
Come back to TAs.
Exactly, yeah.
We got new people on the
Right.
team. We gotta kind of dust the cobwebs off.
Right.
So we're printing.
Okay, send it through.
She sent it over just now. And so while we're kind of getting this, did we want to put Laura's computer up on the screen? Or do one of us up on the screen to kind of type with the COVID reopening? Or do we want to use like our template from last year and take away and add? Or just start fresh while we're kind of signing and getting set up for this?
I personally like taking the template from last year.
Okay,
Because it's already outlined. It's fairly easy, I think.
we can just,
Worked out a lot last year, so if we can amend some of that.
okay,
Piper, what do you think?
okay. Because I can turn the screen on and we can set her up so we can all see it.
Okay.
While Wilfreda's printing this out. Okay, perfect, thanks.
She's doing that. I'll head towards the printer.
Okay. And I'm gonna take my computer back, Susan, so I can pull up the reopening MOU from last year.
Negotiated in the dark.
You have a veil.
Little sound.
Like a veil across the.
Laura's gonna connect. And so I think, yeah, it's over there. Okay.
I couldn't get your Wi-Fi. I had to use my own hotspot, so we'll try.
Oh,
Yeah, the Wi-Fi.
all right, we gotta fix our Wi-Fi.
It said I was connected.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm in the room. That's
Stephanie, it hasn't been working.
working.
Okay.
It's been
Probably.
kicking off and then.
No one hates me. I don't know what I ever did to it, but. Are you cold?
Nope, I feel great.
I'm good,
Oh,
but I'm
Okay.
sitting I'm good though.
okay.
We were hot over there in that room, so.
Yes.
That feels-
Hot in that one.
We were having the other one.
What is that room? AC
I don't know.
thing in there, just the AC.
I don't know. I guess we never notice it because the doors are open. I guess it's once you shut the doors, it starts to become a hot box.
You've got to really freeze out the rest of the building to get that middle room. Cool. Did you run enough for both district and TEA?
I think it'd be a 30.
Okay. I gave Stephanie 2 to start signing.
All right.
Not your personal copy.
But I need to sign the front page. Stephanie, your signature is already set up on the back.
Okay, thank you.
This is the salary piece.
I'm gonna start too.
The only thing that I ask is, right now, we're literally just in the middle of hiring and onboarding, et cetera. So it may take us a while. Right, so just be patient with,
Well, we need to send out for ratification
okay.
and all that stuff too, so. I'm gonna, yeah, you keep that one. I got 2 clean copies here.
Wait, page 2 of 2 doesn't say number 6.
Oh, wait,
On page 2 of 2, it doesn't say in addition to the above increase, only added it to 4. So 4 and 6 should mirror each other.
yeah.
Sorry. I
That's
didn't catch that
important.
So
earlier.
we don't, yeah, I didn't catch up for it either. You don't need to just keep yours. We'll just print 2 clean copies. We've got a mirror 4 and
Yeah,
6.
4 and 6 should mirror each other. So
Huh? Can you do it real quick since you're set up? Or, I mean, we can do it with what, well, here. Pull yours up. Oh, okay, thank you.
No, we're not printing 30 copies. We're
No.
only going to print 2 to sign. You can make the adjustment on your number 6, second page to mirror number 4.
Mirror number 4.
We have a point of clarification.
sorry.
We're only agreeing to the level for the next 2 years. We're not agreeing to the 2%. We are agreeing to
Yes,
2% this year.
and then the
and
level,
increase.
and then anything outside of the level is negotiated.
Correct.
Yes.
That 2%
So then you don't-
Comp is negotiated next year.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, so we're good then. We don't need to change anything. Okay, we're good. So you already have my signature.
I ripped it up. Miss.
Okay, so take that one and I'll start this one.
Sign both pages, full signature.
For people watching.
They said you may want to
Okay.
tell what's happening
Steph, yeah,
So
and
right now,
abbreviated, you don't need full signature on this?
on, it's just.
I have the full signature on the back.
Okay, so how would you like us to sign it?
Just initial the
Just initial the bottom
bottom.
pages?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So what's happening now is, well, we had sent around tentative agreements for the automatic level advances, increases for support staff. That was Article 19 and Article 15. That went around this last go around. What is going around now with the tentative agreements is the actual salary proposals. And it is right now a 2-year deal for 21-22 and 22-23. In the 21-22 school year, we are looking at moving to $11 an hour as our minimum. Everyone is receiving a $2 increase to their current salary level as like a COLA, like a cost of living adjustment. Every employee that worked at least half plus one of their days last year in the 2021 school year will receive a level advancement. So for example, if you were on level 1, you're now moving to level 2, et cetera. And then if you were at the very top of your schedule right now, before the level advancement, you will receive a 3% COLA in addition to the already given 2%. So for a total of a 5% COLA. for anybody that's at the very top of their prospective schedules. And then for the 22-23 year, you will be getting a level advancement. If you work at least one day over half of the school year of your contracted days, and that those at the top of their respective schedules will receive a 3% increase. And then obviously if there's additional monies outside of that, with the caveats we put into Article 19 and Article 15, we will come back to the table and negotiate those, but you will at least be getting a level advancement for the next school year. And so that's what's going around right now. After we have those signed, we will be moving on, and we're setting up right now for COVID protocols, and we will be probably spending the rest of our day hammering those out.
Bear with me for a second, guys. See if it.
Okay.
Can everybody still see?
Mhm.
Don't have a fog machine. I'm sorry, Brenda.
What did you say about hiring people, payroll, and,
No, I was just saying that we just have to be mindful of the schedule,
Oh.
the time frame. If people call and say, hey, I don't see my percent, or hey, I don't see my level, for us right now.
Well, yeah, we have to go through the ratification and all that stuff too. So
Forgot
we'll
about
message
that. I'm just thinking, I don't want people to say, hey, where's my money? And then we're in the middle of
Mhm.
trying to onboard people and get.
that makes sense.
I was just doing one cut. I didn't do that.
The other one, Kevin, that needs to come over. Oh, you messing up my system.
It's in the shared drive.
You messing up the system. All
And the
right.
MOU and bargaining 2021 under MOUs
You
23.
guys are gonna get one set. Make sure you sign the second.
Let's go to September 17th. Filed. You can pull it up.
That's another one to sign.
Yeah.
Of course.
That one?
It's all the way down to 9. With a little document.
Let's start back here.
Who wants it?
All right, we're gonna come this way. And then it's coming this way.
I didn't read it.
I don't know what it said. It's what we should correct.
I just read that the other day. It's a little scary. Brandon, I just read that the other day. The other one was Lake Powell.
Did I sign this one?
You need to sign this one. Lisa's already signed this one.
Okay,
And then Tony steps back in.
okay.
So before we talk about the reopening MOU, the MOU for some of the schools under construction with flexible scheduling with the staff development days, were you guys okay with adding in a list of the actual schools that affected?
Yeah, the only thing, and actually Laura did have in a list earlier, and I said, well, we may want to leave the list out just to, if more schools come on, because I don't want to keep adding schools if something else happens.
Well, I guess we wanted to restrict it to the schools that were under construction to not give, because I mean, we set that with the calendar committee. And
Right, so
so
it
it
was
would.
Davenport High.
Davenport, and so I know I missed Mulberry Middle, or not Mulberry High School, because they had some construction.
Right,
But I think that the list that I sent over with the exclusion of Mulberry High School, which I added back in.
Okay.
But I think those were all the sites that have construction going on. No, Bartow High. Yes, Bartow High and Mulberry, and then you have the Frostproof Elementary moving to Ben Hill Griffin.
Okay.
Willow Oak, Davenport High School and Bella Cita, right? Yeah,
Oaks.
that's the Willow Oak.
Laura's got a nice fire.
Let me have Angela review the list.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay.
That'll be the best.
Because I know schedules are wanting to start, the schools are wanting to start putting out schedules, so I wanted to have something.
We'll have it, it's 3:00. Let me call Angela once we're done.
Okay.
Just get a complete list.
Okay,
Because I don't know.
Okay.
off the top of my head which ones are.
okay. I just didn't want other schools outside of those on the construction list starting to move days around, and then it gets confusing for us sometimes to,
No, I wanted, I understand that. I guess my thought process was if we restrict it to only those that actually have construction, right? Ongoing construction right now. So I know that a few schools won't be available. Is that right? They're not, a few schools won't be finished on the first day?
No,
All of them
all
will?
our schools will start on time. The only school that's delayed is one auditorium. I think that's the least.
Davenport High?
okay, so that list
Angela's last
will
one.
be okay then. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
I
Okay,
just-
okay, awesome. All right.
So this is the MOU as of September, separate from the addendum, which was a different purpose.
Yes. All right,
I changed the years.
perfect.
I'm gonna strike Kansas City School, right?
Oh, good.
Oh, yes, Campus City School gone, thanks.
So the bubbles are appearing off screen.
The setting.
Yeah, I think if you go into your, is it-
No, it's a setting with the projector.
oh, I see, I got you. Okay.
So, but it'll show up on the actual document
So emergency order.
when you send the document, Laura. So
Okay.
I think you can strike that first whereas clause.
the ratio thing. I don't want to play around and screw everything up.
Second whereas clause.
Yep.
Now there's another one about the emergency.
Yeah, all of those can go.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
As of right now, we're not under any emergency orders.
Yeah. So really, we can probably get rid of,
Campus school, school's got to go.
maybe just keep the last two whereases.
Both of these go?
References e-school.
Yep. Right. Okay. So we're keeping the last two whereases and the last one. Okay.
You have to take that line about choosing campus school. Now therefore.
Last line. Yep. Good catch, Wanda. Face coverings. Well, so we need to, in that now therefore, you just took out Campus School.
The assignment of instructional employees doesn't make sense anymore, so we have to do something with that.
Okay. We can probably just, all the way to parties mutually agree on the best practices and safety procedures for the reopening of PCPS schools period. And recognize, I say, and recognize the safety precautions period, so precautions, yeah, period after precautions and then get rid of everything else. Okay.
Perfect. Requirements, of course. So face covering requirements.
Yeah. Optional. Recommendations, covering recommendations, want to do recommendations instead of requirements?
Recommended.
Yeah. doing face covering recommendations. Links will still be appropriate, nothing. Probably not. Yeah. That's just a yearly.
Do we want to put something about vaccinations?
No.
We offer them if you'd like.
MOU.
That's still in play.
So recommendations for face coverings and other available PPE, because we have some like gowns that people can have and. So recommendations for face coverings and other personal protective equipment.
Social distancing, do you want to do where feasible?
Yeah. Yeah. Social distancing. Focus on the right. Focus on the screen. Focus on the screen.
So the CDC has come out with recommendations. They're not.
That's why I had concern using the recommendations up top there. Because the recommendation is for masks in school buildings to wear face coverings.
And so if they're right now optional, I think we need to say that it's optional or.
We address face coverings later in the document in detail.
I would suggest we come back to this, because we have a webinar tomorrow morning at the governor's office and the chancellor's office, so we may get direction on this.
Okay.
So I would just go ahead and keep moving through the document areas and we can update.
Yeah. So let's just highlight this part so we know we need to come back to it.
Highlight one.
You like one?
Highlight.
Highlight one. Highlight one. Yes. Okay.
You want to know what you're going to be told too.
Are you still planning on doing number 2?
Our staggered arrivals and departures going to be
I think so. I think what they're doing, from what I've heard, is they're assigning specific times so that it's not an influx as it was last year.
I know some high schools are already implementing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
okay. So we'll leave 2.
So pause for 1 second. One of the things, once we finish here, then I'm going to send it to administrators to review.
Okay. Okay.
Get feedback on.
Yeah, that makes sense. We'll see them. Is 3 okay too then with DOE guidelines? If they give us any guidelines? I don't think there's any out right now.
They're not giving us any.
I like 3. Okay. All right.
Go up closer. There's a seat right there.
I don't need to get that close.
You're just next to me, Mr. Hyde. It's all right. Right on camera.
Words actually at front so you can take her seat.
So clean.
Is there something wrong with 3 or do we like 3?
I think they're on a DOE webinar tomorrow.
You're right, sorry.
We're going to get
Didn't make that.
told like
Our governor.
Yeah.
Do face coverings if requested. For a
Maybe just say there will be proper and sufficient supply of face covering.
there's a supply. I wouldn't say proper and sufficient right now.
Okay,
right?
so-
Just a supply
Okay. For people that need it.
for people that want it.
Yeah.
If requested, because all of the buildings do have
Okay.
coverings, gloves, disinfectant, all that stuff.
Okay,
But-
there will be a supply of face coverings, gloves, disinfectant spray, hand sanitizers, blah, 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 as requested.
That may be requested.
That may be.
That may be requested.
Yeah, that may be requested.
Okay.
That's where I was gonna go. Mustard.
There may be, I'm sorry. There is?
There is a supply.
It is a supply there, yeah, there is.
There is a supply of face coverings and the list, that may be requested.
I would,
Okay.
that may be requested at the end, at the time.
Okay.
Newspaper said it.
Can we change instead of is to will?
Yeah.
Because if you look at the first sentence, the district will ensure, so there will be a supply.
I like that better.
Okay. Okay. So are custodial staff still having the cleaning protocols as they were last year? Okay.
Do you want to put in the thing about the fact that classrooms will have air purifiers?
Okay.
Each classroom, right?
Nice.
They're staggered in delivery, so if you have to put something in there that says, you know,
As they arrive,
Yeah, upon arrival.
as needed.
right.
Okay.
Each classroom will be supplied with an air purifier.
As inventory becomes available.
Yeah, okay. I don't know what to do about that. Okay. I'm gonna see if I can, as I'm talking, right, they can hear me a little bit better without my mask on. I'm fully vaccinated. I'm just- The question is, can we strike that? Stephanie?
Let's strike the second half.
No. Yeah, the other part's already covered up there, so I think that's okay. Yep. Are we okay to move on to 5? Okay.
Let me see something, safety issues.
All right.
So anyway, sorry.
Face coverings. So, so I know you had referenced in the work session, that if they are wearing face coverings, they need to be worn correctly. So even though face coverings are optional, do we want to still say that if you're wearing them, they have to be worn correctly?
Yes.
Because I think that was part of the student code of conduct.
Say that again.
So face coverings are optional, but if they are going to wear them, they have to be worn correctly. So.
But for student,
Yeah, I see an issue with enforcement there, because if I'm wearing mine incorrectly,
Yeah,
it's good, I don't have to wear it anyway.
yeah.
If I were to add something to this section, I would say that face masks would just be appropriate. And if we would students go political slogans, messages,
Okay, yeah, yeah, okay.
If one, it should be done correctly or something.
Optional thing
Brandon's point, Brandon is saying, how can you enforce it?
yeah, because I don't have to wear it anyway.
You have to wear
Right,
it.
so if I want to wear it on my chin, right, whatever,
we're not policing that.
yeah,
If we could
Call it out, we'll take it out.
Just take the whole thing out.
yeah, you don't have to wear it anyway.
only,
So, they must be appropriate and follow,
How about we just say face coverings must follow the code of conduct regarding pictures, slogans, etc.
This is for, an MOU between.
for staff, not for students.
But I think that's what
her point is that the language should.
Yeah, we should mirror what the students are doing in this case.
we have seen people wear political
Supporting, supporting and help the face coverings must support about distance political. Men's images, etc.
etc.
No.
No, I'm not gonna wear mine. water one, you know.
So am I incorrect in saying the stuff above face covering should all go?
I would think so. I think you just need that one sentence now.
We just highlight it rather than deleting it.
Yeah, let's highlight it. Yep.
Wait till tomorrow.
Have you met our guy?
Don't get crazy.
Sorry.
It also has.
That can all go too, right? We're not doing this anymore? We're not giving out?
Because they just have supply is
Right.
requested. Right. So we don't need
Right, that
to,
was for the startup of one.
yeah.
I do want to say one thing. I think that for the learning centers, the PPE, the gowns and all that, because we feed kids and they spew. I think
That's all, I think that's.
That's why I took it off. They said they couldn't hear me.
so if we could just. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, leave it. That was my thing was I thought we should leave that one. So should we highlight C into after your meeting tomorrow also?
I think it's a delete. I think that's probably a delete, not a highlight.
Then you can do that.
B's gone too. If you double click in the gray section between the pages, Laura, it collapses out of the top.
You don't have to have. I don't know that we can encourage them anymore.
It's not an encouragement per se.
Right.
Students have the option to wear their own face coverings. Well, really, honestly, we probably don't need to address anything with students. Right? Remember though, last year we put it in here just to make sure teachers felt comfortable with saying.
I think that also goes into the point of what previous ones deleted, and so we were gonna like provide
Fire.
highlight it.
I would get rid of it.
Get rid of it. Okay.
Well, it's a reminder. It can serve as a reminder to teachers that students have the option to wear it, right? And so that's really.
I just refuse to wear the required covering should be first. But here's my thought on
Take that out.
Yes. Because masks have a cost, and so what we are still going to do is if a student wants to wear one, you choose to follow the option to wear one, we will provide them to them or no?
If they haven't, if they ask for one, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's why I'm thinking. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't need D.
Yeah. Yeah. These are gonna be. And it's the same screening. We're not doing screening. Okay, so then it's a self-screening. It's a self-screening.
Self-screening,
Yeah.
They don't have to, we're not having them report like they did last year. So there's no form to fill out every day?
Correct. It's a self-screening.
I have a question on that one, please. It's going into, several schools. Okay, if so we're not doing temperature checks either, I think, right into, how would they know?
So there's a form that you fill out in terms of, hey, I'm here from this time until this time. So I'm at Bartow Middle from 10 until 12.
Okay.
And then I'm at BEA from 12 until 1, et cetera. So if a person is exposed or is COVID positive, is identified as COVID positive during the time in which, and you were there on that day, the health department or Audrey Kelly will contact you and say, hey, out there, you need to quarantine for 15 days, or what's your status, or da-da-da-da.
So is that a form that's going to be given to me personally?
No, it's a form at each school. Yeah, that each school site has, and they'll keep it at the school site.
Okay.
So when they check in. So when they check in, it's much like, so it'll be, if you imagine it, it'll be just like Raptor, right? Like right next to your Raptor information, then you check in and go from there.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So are we gonna wanna have language about the self-reporting if employees are ill? Is that in there?
I think we're still getting this.
Okay, sorry.
That's the daily readiness assessment that we were doing. We're not doing it anymore, right?
Correct.
We're on A right now.
Well, yes, you are, but you're doing it independently.
Yeah. They're not doing it at the school, so the
Correct.
form.
Self-evaluate.
So with A, can we get rid of A, or do we want to keep aspects of A? Are they getting formal COVID-19 training like they did at the beginning of last year? No?
I don't think so. Let's highlight that one in there, just so that, I'll check with administrators to make sure.
Okay. And then with the social media, robocalls, website, I mean, that's really more parent-child. We probably,
So remember, as I said earlier, a lot of this was put in just to make teachers feel comfortable about what we were doing overall as a district. So it really depends on you all if you want to keep some of this in here.
Well, are you going to?
Is that gonna still happen?
Reminding parents that if their kid is sick, they shouldn't come to school,
Yes.
and these are the symptoms, so I.
It's going out tomorrow to families.
okay, so we can keep that in there.
Tonight.
We're gonna continue to do that.
I like that you're very much aware of the Tylenol fix.
Yeah. So they take Tylenol, they get on the bus.
Now, that's every flu season, you can deal with that.
Yeah. So they don't have to complete it now. It's a self-assessment.
No. But I think we put something in there that employees are not to report to work if they have COVID or COVID-like symptoms.
Yeah.
Well, it's also,
I don't know about that one. I'm telling you, that's gonna be, what, I think that's the employers, if the employee has COVID or has COVID, like symptoms, your policy should drive that. It shouldn't be covered by the MOU because I'm telling you, here, I just had too many scenarios from last year. Because if I have COVID-like symptoms, I'm not gonna report to work. And then there's a whole lot of there's a whole lot of drama between here's what I feel like and what administration of the bureaucracy is actually saying. I mean, my preference on that is that it just be your policy, and this is my preference. I mean, I don't, if it's your policy, great. You know, I'm not.
Yeah.
This is mine. Yeah, okay. I mean, that's my suggestion. So I mean,
No, so I think what you're getting to is at what point will someone be allowed to return to work, and that will be clearly delineated. Meaning, so even if you have cold-like symptoms, those are COVID symptoms. Period. You don't come to work. We're not taking a chance. Go see your doctor, get a test, and they'll figure it out. Right. You test negative as long as you're fever-free for 24 hours, just like our students. You can return to work. If you are COVID positive, then now we got to do contact tracing. We got to do all of those pieces. So I think we're going to spell all that out later. I think that was the whole point of it.
okay.
it kind of goes into that in the two.
Is there a benefit to being vaccinated?
Yes, employees who are vaccinated are not required to quarantine.
If they're asymptomatic, or what if they're symptomatic?
If you're symptomatic, you have a fever, you should stay at home anyways.
I know, I'm just.
That's a good question as to whether or not we want somebody who's vaccinated and feels like they have a COVID symptom, should they be evaluated by their physician? Probably.
I'm not saying they wouldn't, I just.
Yeah, no. I think that's an additional precaution that makes sense.
Especially with the breakthroughs.
Okay. So is staff, so in number 2, do we want to start lining that out? If staff are not reporting to work because they have symptoms, because that was how they did that through the readiness assessment last year. So if they're reporting to their supervisor that they do have symptoms, do we want to, at this point, build in a kind of almost a timeline that they need to go see their doctor and they can return to work with a negative COVID test or
I is just leaving that little general here. Procedures make change.
yeah.
We have the procedures outlined.
The only problem like I have with like this for COVID symptoms, like I have severe. Well, why, because Delta said COVID would be based on symptomology, not on a self-assessment. No, but even when I've done a negative test, because I'm still sick,
They didn't let you come
they
back.
won't let me go back to work, and I'm like, I need an antibiotic and a steroid, give me that, and I'll be fine. And I still had to quarantine those days with or without a negative test.
Well, you won't be now because you're not identified as a close contact. That's not true. You can actually, all throughout last year, you could have received an alternate medical diagnosis that would have exempted you from,
Not according to McWilcox, sir.
I'm telling you what I know for a fact
Now,
from
okay.
heads and from state agencies. And my understanding is how we implemented last year is if you had an alternate diagnosis, you were able to return.
And see, I guess that didn't happen.
Okay. We can clarify that.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess in that scenario, if Lisa's having allergies that are like COVID-like symptoms, but she already had something on file, would she be able to stay at work, or would she have to take a day, or would the district be covering that day since it's a COVID-like symptom?
So if they have COVID-like symptoms, right, and they're unable to get an alternate medical diagnosis. So, for example, one of the things we always told our families is if your child has severe allergies that are seasonal or those types of things, you can actually preempt it by getting a letter. It's fever and things like that that you're really then tracking, not just the stuffy nose, the congestion, watering eyes. You're really starting to track more of those flu-like severe COVID symptoms. Cough, shortness of breath, but if you're using the inhaler, you would get the alternate diagnosis. But I think our health team put together all the scenarios, except remember who has those. I'll see if Mr. Hill has them real quick.
He does. Should we have that as an attachment?
But it's probably just want to find it embedded in there. But let me see if I can get a copy.
So then we should probably reference that then so that we don't have to either embed it here or reference it. So do we want to keep two highlighted? Because that also talks about remote work possibilities if they're eligible for, if they have a possibility of remote working.
Well, we probably talk through those now and look at the general documents.
COVID playbook.
There's 3 documents. Like the school guide, the sports guide.
What's the question and for what working remotely?
We'll get that to you.
So I guess the question is it still gonna be an option this year?
Part of the cost.
I think we gotta talk through it.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
Part of the cost, that's, they need to do it. Like we parts of that, I believe.
So I need to send this to Diane too. It's Diane and Glenn.
I thought it was the COVID playbook. I think they're waiting to pull up the,
You didn't want to make any reference to vaccines in this MOU?
so not necessarily, I don't think, I mean, I think we wanted to, we're not mandating vaccines, but if we're talking about vaccination, records and you don't, if you show your vaccination record, you don't have to quarantine if you have been in close contact. I think that needs to be referenced if that's the direction we're gonna go. You know, if that's gonna be part of the protocol, you know, in lieu of a negative test, you can show your vaccination record if the department's mandating you to quarantine. You know, you don't have to quarantine if you've been vaccinated.
You can like send these sections to, I think.
You can, do you have Wilfredo's too? You can send it to Wilfredo and I.
Real quick, like, heaven forbid though, what happens if somebody gets Delta? And so you show your vaccine, you show your vaccination card that, hey, you've been vaccinated, but you ended up with Delta variant.
But then you would be positive.
Oh, so
Like, you have symptoms. COVID positive.
you wouldn't want to go to school with the symptoms.
Right. You don't go to school.
Okay, gotcha.
Like if you have symptoms, whether it's whatever variant is out there, right?
Right.
If you have symptoms, you're going to your doctor
And getting tested. I see.
Now, if you've been directed to quarantine, because let's say the Department of Health has said you have been in close contact with somebody that's positive, but you're not showing symptoms, you can show your vaccination card and maybe lieu of a negative COVID test that you can still remain working.
Okay.
But if you
have symptoms.
as long as you have symptoms.
So the key is symptoms. So if you are negative, if you are positive, like if you have a vaccine, right, but you have, an asymptomatic, if you have a vaccine, you can't. You can, I'm sorry. I'm working it through my head. Sorry. But if you have actual symptoms and you've been vaccinated, then you cannot come to school.
Gotcha.
So if you're vaccinated and you test positive, you're asymptomatic, you can't come to work, is that what you're saying? No, it can't happen.
If you have a positive,
No symptoms.
Positive no symptoms.
positive test, no
Just
symptoms.
double check. So I'm not concerned that's
Yeah, no positive test, no symptoms.
good.
And so last year, we had some people that tested negative and then they tested negative again and they still had to fulfill their quarantine time. So if they test negative, are we going to allow them to come back to work?
Well, that's some of the clarification we need tomorrow, 'cause it's the same question we have
Okay.
with student quarantines. So right now, if someone's asymptomatic, for example, some school districts, mostly charter schools and parochial schools, allowed students to come back with daily testing and mask wearing and some other precautions. And so I talked about this at Tuesday's board meeting. I'm not comfortable with it, but because you can become COVID positive up to the 14th day of your exposure. I think we're going to be a little bit more cautious. I would urge us to be more cautious with confirmed COVID cases and confirmed COVID exposure versus just someone who has COVID-like symptoms. Again, with COVID-like symptoms, you get the negative test and your doctor says this is an accurate diagnosis, you can return right away as long as you're fever-free. The issue becomes for those who have a confirmed COVID exposure, our local health department would prefer they quarantine. We're waiting until tomorrow's call to see what direction DOE and the governor give us.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So then we will have more guidance tomorrow with a lot of this stuff. So do we want to go through and just highlight the stuff that we need to come in back and revisit then?
Okay.
Okay.
It's cold in here now.
Okay. No, thank you.
Right.
You usually bring your,
Usually I do. I just forgot it today. So.
because it's stinking hot outside. Okay. So if we look at visitor,
Let's get it off.
Your sweater, I had to turn around and go look at mine. I was like halfway down the road and I'm like, Mom, I need my sweater.
Laura pulled it off.
It's like playing telephone. It's circling.
Right.
we're not limiting visitors and vendors.
at this time.
So then number 7 can probably go.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Did you send that text message?
Yeah, I've sent you a couple.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No problem.
One email. I'm sorry, maybe 2. Sending it now. Not 3.
This one.
I think so, yes.
What happened to this one?
Well, unplugged it. She's still trying to do something.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay.
Here's another one, Laura. Right, yes.
So right now, the return to school COVID handbook, or an admin procedure guide, it's not, it's intended to be shared with families. There's a separate guide for families. We'll send you this document. It probably should just be linked in here.
Okay.
For staff to look at, because it even goes in such detail at the end, where it actually walks through various scenarios, teacher test positive, student test positive, here's what to do.
Okay.
A lot of the questions we ask right now, I
Yeah,
just
address.
copying and pasting in there that I think best address some of these.
Okay.
But rather than lengthen this document tenfold, maybe it just makes sense to say, here are the open procedures and policies and practices, please refer to here with the questions about.
Okay.
So with exposure or symptoms.
So what you had sent, like, was that?
That's copy and pasted.
Copy and pasted.
Handbook.
Okay, so then let's just, that makes sense to me.
Or you could include some of it saying, for additional details, refer to this document.
Okay.
That way they have the whole comprehensive.
Oh, thank you. So having the core of this in there and then referencing the handbook.
That may make more sense.
Yeah.
Because you could, at the end of this, you could put something highlighted that says this was taken from.
Yeah, this is referenced from.
The handbook, the link, click on the link here for the comprehensive document.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that. So we don't have a 30-page MOU.
Essentially, this section could answer the question about, like, for example, allergies. Those are the explicit symptoms we're kind of looking for.
Okay.
Sore throat, but, having bad seasonal allergies myself, a lot of these are.
Okay. Okay.
So you said something earlier, Tedra. Do we still have, is the district still providing COVID immunizations? Or is it just you go to the Department of Health?
Oh, actually, when we were on a call, I want to say a week ago with principals, what we decided to do is partner again with Florida Department of Health. And so they're going to be set up at some of the orientations on Friday at various school sites around the district. So what we're trying to do is just encourage not only teachers and students, obviously, but parents, whoever's there at orientation to get vaccinated should they so choose.
I think, we actually have document, we cite COVID information and resources so they can call and get information about other vaccination events.
Okay. Okay.
But we had all 3 vaccines available this morning at the apps meet at the transportation return dress dyers, and all 3, so you could choose which one you wanted. And we just didn't have.
Hopefully they're already vaccinated. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Okay, so we'll add this in and we can, Laura, are you gonna do your magic and format later? Okay. Okay.
Again, some of this may change tomorrow. It's not timelines, and we get there.
After your call tomorrow, would we be able to look at this again like Monday? So hopefully have something
Okay.
for Tuesday.
Yeah, one of the options we might offer, so let's say, for example, let's say the state says we're not to quarantine close contacts anymore, unless they're symptomatic. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm gonna ask you to allow us to test everybody before they come in the building then.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've been identified as a close contact and you're not symptomatic, then we use the rapid test, the nasal swab test to determine, you get results within 15 minutes. That may be one way to bridge that. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas right now. But well, I think we wait to see what we get told tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
And that testing would be at no cost to employees.
But
So are we okay to move on to 7 then?
So we just gonna link this, or is it gonna be in the body of the?
We're gonna put this like kind of highlights, but there's a bigger document
Okay, got it.
that will link. So these are kind of like the highlights that are.
I like that we have the details on the different symptoms, because I don't recall that last year, so I do like that.
Yeah, it wasn't last year.
Yeah.
We referred everything back to CDC, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So if visitors and vendors aren't gonna be restricted, should we just get rid of 7? Or still keep
you can actually
some?
pull that language from the other document as well, because
Okay,
because it's outlined in there.
okay.
So to clarify on visitors, parents in particular,
Mm-hmm.
and some other visitors, like non-essential visitors, won't be allowed, well, we're leading up to principal discussion. So if mom or dad just want to come, pop into the classroom, it's probably going to be a no.
Yeah.
If it's tutoring services, intervention, mentoring, those would more likely be a yes.
Parent conferences.
And then part of the reason we want it to be at the school level was if we end up with an identified outbreak or something like that, that school's going to be more restrictive than other schools might be, so it allows some flexibility at the individual school level.
That makes sense.
What about our parents that want to eat lunch with their kids every day?
Principals will address that as, depending on how it impacts your school. If they do, I think we provided guidance that they have to eat outdoors.
Only
have
that
to be
student.
socially distanced from other students. That's in that handbook.
Okay.
And it's only that student, so you can't,
Yeah, they can't bring.
I can't have my daughter's friends come along.
Yeah.
Right, so it's-
You get to eat with your kid and that's
that's
it.
it.
Okay. Okay.
That might slow my kid.
Offering virtual IEPs at the parent level.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Those were so blessed, such a blessing last year.
I think that people actually saw more parent participation.
It's actually very well received,
Yeah.
And plus,
but it does default to parent choice.
Yeah.
Parents does not want to do it. They have the right to be in.
so it's only a parent choice, not.
That is correct. Parents have the first right of refusal when it comes to IEPs. They drive the meeting.
So we had last year that staff could join virtually. Is that still gonna, can we still talk about that being an option?
Yeah.
So that they're not coming,
If the
but
parent insists on being in person, you have to at least have one lead
yeah,
in the room. Case manager or whoever it is.
yeah. But staff could join virtually.
We can talk through that. I think Josh may have some language about.
Okay,
I don't think he was opposed to it. Let me say that.
okay.
Last sentence.
So we leave it?
I won't say have the right. Just highlight that one as well. Let us get back to that.
Because they could join faculty meetings virtually last year. They could join PLCs virtually. Collaborative planning virtually last year.
I'm not gonna be popular on my side, but I disagree with, I think that should just go. I mean, I get it if something happens and you have to be quarantined, right? But there's remedy not, when this was written, there was no remedy. There's remedy now, there's just a slightly different thing. And I just don't see the need for that. I mean, if the teacher is quarantined, because, I get that he or she may need to join the meeting, via Zoom.
Right.
But I don't see the circumstance.
If there's an outbreak at the school, teacher might feel more comfortable with.
I wouldn't even go so far as to say an outbreak. A lot of times when I've been in these meetings, these are taking place in pretty small rooms. And when you might have a majority of the people there who are unmasked, and maybe I'm choosing to wear a mask, and I don't know, nor do I have the right to ask people their vaccination status. I think it would bring comfort to be able to attend that virtually. I mean, we are still living in a world and in a county where a pandemic is raging. And I don't think, while we begin to step back a little bit, I think it's important to acknowledge that reality as well.
Part of this too is last year we got directives from the federal government about what was allowed and what wasn't allowed. So I'm gonna have to defer to that again. So let me see what guidance we can get from Fed policy and go from there. I'm all for being flexible, but couple quick points of clarification. As an employer, we have the right to mandate that all employees vaccinate. That's been very clearly defined. We have not done so for two reasons. Number one, the upheaval is going to create issues for some of our employees. And number two, the FDA has not finalized authorization, so I don't think anybody wants to touch it. But as of this morning, everybody across the country is signing up and saying you must vaccinate. The other issue for us in particular here is how do we ensure that families get this level of service and support that they're entitled to for an IP? So I just, let me see what guidance we can get there.
And I think maybe Brandon was more referring to like our staff
Yeah, I get it.
meetings.
I get it, but again, the parent is, by insisting to have a face-to-face meeting, the parent wants to meet.
Yeah.
And I don't know that virtual becomes then a viable option. I have to, again, this is a federal policy update that we probably need to seek out.
Well, staff meetings that were held on like Zoom, so the principal would hold them and then staff could come on via Zoom in smaller cohorts across the campus. That worked for a lot of people. So I hear what I think that's what Brandon is addressing, is like being crammed into the multi-purpose room where you're practically sitting on the next person's lap because it's a small space.
But we're still adhering to social distancing guidelines in here as well. So I think I don't know that that's going to happen, but we could definitely open up to our administrators and see their.
We do probably need to talk about the PPE at these meetings, because it's saying must correctly wear. Since it's optional, we can't require them to.
Yeah.
So I'm not being I'm vaccinated. And as you can see, I'm wearing a mask today because I love you all, but I'm vaccinated. But I don't think we have a handle yet on the breakthrough. And I think that's what's creating some concern for people. And so I would like to see if we could leave that as an option. I don't think it impeded us from being able to hold faculty meetings. In fact, in some respects, I think it made it better. You know, and we do have the ability through Zoom and Schoology and the other one, Teams, to be able to do that.
And I see the point with parent meetings in particular, if they're choosing that, but staff meetings,
I'm
like,
gonna be honest, I wanna ask my principals.
yeah.
Just about
I
to say
do.
that I would defer to
Because
principals.
just like teachers got frustrated with kids pointing their cameras up and not being on screen, I'm sure that there are examples of that and I'll hear about it. So let me ask my principal.
Okay.
But I understand completely what you're saying about IEPs.
Yeah.
You know, really, I do that.
Thank you.
So Laura, if you can highlight A as well. Okay. So with the social distancing within classrooms, we were very prescriptive about rows and whatnot, so we're backing off of that.
Right now, it's the extent of.
Okay, so but they can group. Okay,
Dress
so,
together and.
yeah,
Well, I think we're encouraging 3 feet. I think that's in that other document.
so they can group, but they're still spaced out.
I think there was some information there about cohorts and.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Sorry, so I know last year we were very prescriptive at the beginning of the year that they were in rows to the maximum, amount possible. And as the year went on, we got a lot of feedback. And even had some principals call us about, well, can I put them in groups? And so we're not looking to be as prescriptive in that manner as long as they can. And I guess maybe teacher choice, like if teachers want to group them, they can, but if they want to have them in rows, they can do that too.
Because a lot of teachers teach collaboratively. And so this was, as one of those, it was a lot of tweaking last year.
Right.
So I guess so the teacher maybe is not felt like it. So if they really are apprehensive about things, that they could space out their kids to the max amount possible. Because I know in our evaluation system, you're evaluated on group work and collaboration and whatnot. But if it's kind of the teacher's option, how they arrange their room.
I thought in the document that he's referring to, I think it says, socially distanced.
Okay.
Up to a recommendation of 3 feet if feasible. I don't know that it talks about rows per se. I think that there is a seating chart issue. That was the bigger issue.
Because
We needed a seating chart
Department of Health
because,
needs
right, because the Department of Health needs it, right?
You can make a seating chart and focus with any shape you want.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I don't
Okay.
recall there being a delineation between rows, chairs, or rows and rows compared to group seating.
Okay.
But I know that there is something in there about the 3 feet when feasible or to the greatest extent possible, something like that.
Collaborative structured strategies must follow social distancing requirements.
People mark down on their evaluation.
Right, even in rows, sometimes you can't do
Yeah.
3 feet. So,
Right, exactly.
It's just, if we could try to get them back in that collaborative structure, if the teacher had a choice, I think that's kind of the.
Highlight this one and then we'll come back to it.
Okay.
That's it.
It is.
What are we gonna do about the?
Are we allowing plush furniture back in?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're taking off the soft materials thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's gone?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think all of B can probably go. Oh, wait.
Carpets. So remember, we said no carpets, I think, last year, and no furniture, but I'm almost certain it's in that document as well, that we're allowing both carpets and furniture.
Okay.
Of the carpet?
No.
Outdoor furniture, structures, and equipment used on playgrounds are gonna be,
We're maintaining all of our cleaning procedures.
okay, so that can stay then.
Limiting shared options. Yep.
There's the stuff.
Highlight.
So this is now covered in what we had addressed above.
Mhm.
So see above, I can format that.
I just sent you the section from the.
Okay.
We're gonna have to leave that one in there. I. Are we still doing that?
Well, that'll be interesting to see how they do that, because a lot of places were only able to do that because they had less students on campus.
So in the,
So towards the end of the year, to your point, Mary Ann, a lot of people could not socially distance at all. And so those were the questions that we received. Tedra, I'm having an influx of students. What's happening now? So I just said, put them in rows, you know,
To the extent possible.
right?
so when I was just reading through, one of the bullet points was, you know, a suggestion was to put them in rows,
Yeah, I see that now.
but it's a may consider.
Yeah, because schools may consider physical distancing strategies such
Mhm.
as, not all strategies will be feasible for all schools. Think creatively about opportunities to increase physical space where we can. I mean, it's pretty,
Yeah.
So to your point, Mary Ann, I don't think anybody will be marked down per se on their evaluation because they did not sit in rows, right? Based on this document.
No, I wasn't worried about them for sitting in rows.
Collaborative structures.
Collaborative structures.
you know, you-
Okay, yeah, I think you'll be.
You know, should you choose to keep your students in rows,
Mhm.
it's not easy to do that collaborative structure that way, the same as
It doesn't look the
shoulder
same.
partners and small group instruction becomes, yeah, so that's all I was talking about.
Okay,
Since we're not having e-school, are we still having a remote on 11?
I'm sorry, where are we?
11.
Wait.
Oh.
Jump back up.
Did we skip 1 and 2?
Yeah. Laura, can you go up? Sorry.
Excuse me.
And so do we have different flow charts, or is the handbook replacing the flow charts?
Handbook is replacing everything.
Okay. So we could probably, because we're seeing the handbook, and that's kind of replacing the flow charts we had, we can probably get rid of the 1, 2, and 3 under A. Because those are gonna be outlined in the handbook that we're gonna be linking.
The B is still appropriate.
Mhm. Yeah, I was just about to say that.
This is the world's longest MOU.
19 pages.
15.
pages.
It was 15? I thought it was 19.
Laura and I were like 15, yep, 15.
I thought it was 19 for some reason.
Plus attachments.
Maybe that's what it was.
With attachments, it might have been 19.
Yeah, I thought it was 19.
The DOE plan.
Yeah.
And then the other.
Yeah.
So that's the one I was referring to is the second part of I, about isolation areas may be harder to do.
So the Florida Health Department or the Polk Health Department is specifically saying that we have to have isolation areas again. However, they are not recommending that it's our nurse this time. They're recommending that it's another personnel, if I'm not mistaken.
They used health contacts.
Health, I was just about to say that, maybe the health contacts, just because then if the LPN is in there and they are exposed to everything and then they become ill, then that everything else just stops in terms of the clinic part.
So I know we had, with the health contacts, because it's kind of a separate, like health contact is a backup to the LPN for like meds and nurse type of things, but we had it to where it was a volunteer. Like they didn't have, like a principal couldn't say, you're going to be part of the isolation room.
So I think this year, if I recall correctly, we are asking principals to identify people that will definitely be a part of the isolation room. And the question was, we are identifying people because one of the principals asked Tedra, what if they don't agree, right? Is that discipline? No, not discipline. Find somebody else to do it.
Okay,
right?
so it is, they can refuse.
They can refuse, right? But
So I guess kind of is a like they can say no.
they can say no. We don't want them to say no, but they can say.
But there are still some
Yeah.
people that want to.
That are genuinely afraid, right? Yeah, and we get it.
Yeah.
We certainly get it. However, in the isolation room, you must wear masks, right? Everyone must wear masks
Okay.
in the room. And so that's the other issue is that because they are potentially ill people there,
Mhm.
and we are trying to at least reduce the spread as much as we can, we know that some students may be there until their parents get off of work and can come pick them up. Then, that person that's there monitoring the room will be likely exposed to whatever that student has. And so
Okay.
if there's the people in there, though, must wear a mask.
Okay. Then we should probably outline that then.
That's in the handbook as well.
We'll wear personal protective equipment. I think it might prove if we
There
have-
needs to be revision to I still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I think if you really look at the handbook in terms of what we have, that may help us really with I. So if we want to do it separately,
Okay.
I know staff will look for if the volunteer status probably in the MOU, so if we make sure we include that.
Yeah. That they
Have the right. Even though it might be better to handle all of that once we know what the parameters are from the state.
Oh, yeah.
Just do it all at one.
Yeah. Well, and we could do some pre-work too, like if there's things in the handbook that line up, we could move that language over and then that way. Okay. So then, Laura, can you highlight B1 and 2? Okay, thank you. Okay. You got to highlight it again.
I think you can go ahead, under B1 and 2, it says said procedures, da-da-da-da-da-da. You see that? Said procedures will be developed in accordance with CDC guidelines
Yeah, keep that right.
as well. If we're talking about the isolation room only, yeah.
Okay. So we can probably get rid of 11.
Yeah.
Now, we've had 2 questions come in so far that they're asking if there's job openings in Polk Virtual. I was gonna bring this here. If there was a need, if we saw based on the student enrollment for Polk Virtual, if there was a need and openings, would we allow staff that were high risk to move into Polk Virtual with a special window?
I don't know that Polk Virtual operates like that. From the last time I talked to Mr. Williams, he actually.
Licenses.
Right,
You have
yeah.
2,000.
He's not anticipating the amount of students.
Okay, so
So
that's not a need then.
that's not a need as of right now. Mm-mm.
Okay,
Unless the cases spike so much so that come second semester, because that's when students can enroll again, right? It's quarterly or semester?
semester.
Semester based, right? So when second semester comes, I think that may be a better.
So right now we're good with.
That is
Polk
not a
Virtual.
need, no.
Okay.
Not at all.
I didn't know, because when it closed a week and a half ago.
Close a week and a half ago, and based on his numbers, he said, no, not right now.
Okay,
May actually look at transferring people out,
okay,
but not right now.
all right.
So do we get rid of all that?
I think she eliminated 11.
She did.
Okay, yeah. Will be an
Well, I'm looking at I guess.
I'm looking at 12. That's the next one.
I went
Okay.
down too fast, sorry.
Okay.
Obviously, yeah, e-school go by.
Yeah, I think we only, yeah. I think if there's health and safety stuff, we want to get it taken care of as soon as possible. So there is no Campus E-School, but we do have some potential Schoology, right, instruction during quarantine that we discussed last time. Would that go in this section? Instructional delivery requirements? Because we're not talking e-school, but if we're,
This was what Mr. Hyde was talking
Yeah.
about, is how do we
Do both.
do both, you know, if a kid goes quarantine, make sure that they have the work. And then we had the discussion about whether it was E or if they would be able to opt for a packet. But that the parents were then going to be, or the students were going to be responsible to actually do the work.
Then
would that go in this section, you think?
that would need to have a specific reference to students who are quarantined. Otherwise, this
For
could be, oh, they're gonna come back for me second 9 weeks.
Gotcha.
No, thank you.
Should it be district or Department of Health mandated quarantine? Not that they just decide that they need to
Kind of both,
quarantine
yeah.
on their own.
Right.
I'm in a quarantine on my own for a week and go on a cruise. Okay.
So if we put those three scenarios in. Like the ones we had talked about
I think a lot, yeah, I think the handbook,
for quarantine instruction.
Well, I think most of this is kind of obsolete. We would kind of have to rework this whole section.
Correct.
Just about to say
That's
that.
all
This whole
East.
section is obsolete, but it would fall here and we'd have to look at,
Talking about separate MOU for instruction delivery, but we can include it here too.
we might want to just have it all in one
I'd rather put it in one.
document. So maybe reference, if you guys have already started to kind of put something together for that.
We've talked about it.
Okay.
Getting rid of stuff, it's all e-school.
Yeah, I think this whole section can be scrapped and we can replace what we're looking at this year for,
We'll send you something.
okay.
Yeah.
All of that, yeah.
All that, go bye-bye.
Oh, above too, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
High blended learning.
Oh, but we-
kill it.
Yeah, but can we just make sure that some of the tenants from the blended learning model get, I don't, like I'm assuming they'll use that model as part of the instruction during quarantine.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
For use during quarantine situations only.
Yes, no, I'm not, I had all 6 classes.
You made it. Barely.
Underpayment, overpayment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, finally got it figured out. I don't know, it's crazy.
Itinerant. This was talking about the, not remote work.
No, itinerant employees.
Yeah, itinerant instructional employees.
I don't think that.
Remotely.
No, they're gonna be expected to in the buildings.
School.
If our regular teachers are expected to,
Yeah.
they're expected to be there.
So should we mention, if they're itinerant, to make sure somewhere that they must fill out their form for contact tracing? Would that be appropriate?
Can we
here?
mention it up top? I mean, technically.
Was it up top?
We can say, it says visitors, but we can say
Okay.
itinerant staff as well.
Okay.
Yeah, see, if I was a staff member, I wouldn't consider myself a
A visitor.
visitor.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, so I would,
Or you can just say staff from outside of the building.
so adding that back up into that, okay. Oh, sorry, Laura. Because we talked about it with visitors, that it would mirror what was in the employee handbook. But itinerant, if I'm an itinerant instructional staff, I'm not considering myself a visitor most likely. And so they need to make sure that they're doing the contact tracing form for each school site they visit.
Leave it there. I think what she's saying is they should mirror the same thing that visitors are doing.
Yeah,
So all outside, all non-building employees of PCPS should follow the same visitor protocol. So if Jason goes to BEA, he's outside of the building, he's an employee, but he still should follow the same check-in protocol.
so that if something does happen,
Yeah.
they can contact Jason and say.
Exactly. So it's not necessarily itinerant, it would just be all staff that's not in that building.
Any staff that's not attached to that building.
ERS, any of them.
Yeah, y'all as investigators,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anybody. But we can get rid of that other paragraph because that's not applicable anymore.
It's 424.
How many more pages we got?
We're on 9 of 14.
Oh, Lord.
So distance learning,
There would have to be some mechanism if a kid's quarantined that they can get a computer, right? Or is that not? I guess it
we
depends
talk
on-
I
about
guess it
that in the
goes back to the
instructional
question.
section.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can, but then that goes back to
This
the,
is addressing employees, not students.
Oh, yeah.
Employee feedback. Yeah, so employees will not be charged.
Let's leave this and see what resources we need for the instructional
okay,
models, and then we can come back and visit this.
okay.
All right, length of the workday.
LOL.
Do we want to come back to this or we can?
So I can say from the principal's perspective, this was probably one of their biggest complaints in that duties were just really, really difficult last year. And so I know that we were all nervous and had everything, but they really were trying to figure out just how to cover basic duty every day. Particularly with some people being in the classroom, some people being out of the class. It was just maddening for them. So if we could figure out really a way for us to kind of ease some of their concerns and ease some of the employees' concerns, I think it would be helpful and beneficial.
Well, I know last year we had talked about staff having options to extend their day to help with duty, but now we actually have ESSER money that can maybe help with those types of things where we didn't have a lot of funds for that last year. So if they need help in coverage in the morning or afternoon or in lunch, maybe we could talk about some of those options for compensation so that people are volunteering.
Well, and
But and
everyone's
already
reporting
covered
back.
in there.
So are we going to continue with the grab and go?
I don't know.
Grab and go in the cafeteria, the kids.
As opposed to eating and then eating in, that, I think that's, some of that will, if we're not doing that, duties will kind of flow a little different.
If I'm not having to be in my classroom because I have kids coming in there with lunch, I can do duty.
Because that's where the minutes will be freed up, then I think.
So then let me see, I'm not sure.
Okay, so, because that's where I think we ran into that student contact minutes.
Everybody? Last year, everyone wasn't in there because we so.
Carefully consider gatherings and potential necessary classes and regional cafeteria and other communal spaces as much as possible. Students should sit with their class or group, ensure physical distance between students within a group or in groups. Stagger meal times and arrange and direct the flow of students, reduce crowding.
So that might have fixed itself then.
It may have, okay.
Because I know we ran into that 360 contact minutes because people were covering kids in their
Classes, right, right,
and then they weren't available for non-instructional duty in other parts of the day.
right. And it
So-
became a safety issue.
Yeah.
From the principal's perspective, it became a safety issue because they only had 2 people at some schools doing
That might have
after-school
fixed
duty.
itself then.
Right.
Everyone's gonna be back on campus.
Right, so it may not,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. Okay.
So it may,
Let me ask, can you highlight that for me as a reminder, just so I can confirm with the principals?
Okay.
So I know Mr. Hyde had talked about asking teachers to do some sub duty on their planning time.
And possibly volunteer and being compensated.
And being compensated for it. I'm sorry, not just, I apologize. Half thought on my part, sorry. So I know that we have paras, covering some of the sub issues. Pause for 1 second. So I've talked to Matt Tidwell from Kelly. So they have built up their bank. The majority of their Kelly subs have been vaccinated and they are okay to return. So last year, I think it was only at like 45, maybe 50%. This year, he's at 85, 90% in terms of having a more complete pool of subs.
Okay.
So I think that should help ease some of the concerns, and especially with teachers being out, et cetera, et cetera. However, even if we still do have an issue, and I'm sure we will, if we still do have an issue, the question is, well, Mr. Hyde brought up, do we want to look at paying teachers extra on their planning time to cover another teacher's absence? So it will be broken up into 7 periods. Let's say I'm at Bartow Middle. They're on a 7-period day, right? So let's say they're on a 7-period day. Everybody would get, $50. I'm just making up a number, but everybody would get $50 if they volunteered to cover that time. Because your plannings are staggered. We would have to work through that.
Yeah, and there's a prioritization. So the first priority is actually securing the sub at all times, right? The second option is using other internal staff, but we have to be more careful this year with pulling paras because paras are explicitly aligned to kids and they're IEPs and funded for. You can't just pull paras because then we're on the hook for compensatory services. So if there's an option to incorporate teachers voluntarily covering classes for a set fee or
With compensation
then
extra.
that would be a good option for us.
What about language with, sometimes when there wasn't anything, teachers had to double up with classes? Would that be something that would be addressed or just try to be avoided?
I would hope we avoid doubling up because of the class size and.
Yeah, no,
social
I'm just
distancing.
asking, yeah. It did happen across the district.
Yeah, it did.
But that's the whole point is if we can incentivize others to.
Yeah, I see what
stay
you're saying.
That section.
Yeah.
I'm worry a little bit about when the planning will get done.
But if they're being compensated for that time, then they can,
It's not their everyday planning,
Yeah.
right? It's just if as needed.
yeah.
Yeah, it
To
wouldn't
me,
be
it's
every day.
easier for me to stomach as a teacher if I'm being compensated for that time, doing it outside of my day since
Let's
I've
just-
been paid for
let's
that.
Also be honest. You're not doing all your comprehensive planning in 55 minutes.
No, I know that.
So at the end of the day, if it's voluntary and we're compensating, we already acknowledge that a lot more planning happens outside of the school day than not. So I get that, but we would never encourage a staff member unless they volunteer to give that up every day or every planning period that they have. So I think that ultimately comes down to what our employees are willing or wanting. And I'm not gonna say willing, I'm just gonna wanting to do.
Okay, I gotta go.
Okay.
Can we propose a new time to come back to this, or how do you want to do the rest of it? I know we're.
So I know you have your call tomorrow with the DOE.
Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on the phone.
We have our afternoon booked tomorrow already with some internal stuff. So do we have some time on Monday? So I know Laura was gonna put some stuff from the handbook in, it's kind of a draft. Do we have some time on Monday to come back and revisit this? To maybe hopefully have something hammered out for Tuesday?
I can always move some stuff around, but really, this is Tedra's busiest time of the year.
Yeah.
Don't know if available.
Monday works.
Okay.
Me, Monday works.
Okay.
Laura?
Yes.
Tony?
Yeah, I just figured if we could
Yes.
get in,
Barry?
okay.
A lot of this, let me be even more frank with you. So what's going to happen tomorrow after the call, then I'm going to go through and
Okay.
kind of put notes and stuff. I'll send that to you.
Okay.
So then that way, at least you'll have it for the weekend if y'all want to look at it,
And send it.
digest it, chop it up or whatever.
Okay.
And then that way, I think that will move us along farther on Monday.
Okay.
So we're just not sitting here saying highlight.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I think you're gonna be able to shorten this down to two pages and just keep referencing the
The
handbook.
handbook.
Because you require the MOU for any change in working conditions, basically, correct, that we've agreed
Yeah.
to. I think you're gonna be able to constrict it a great deal and say, these sections are now covered in our reopening guide, and please refer to it. And that way you can get away from a 15, 16-page long MOU. But that's my opinion.
Mhm.
I'm more about simplicity.
Yeah, I think the people out, outside of this room like to see the kind of the down and dirty, like what's very important. So having references to the very important bullet points and then referencing more detail, I am all for that.
I know that there was, just so we can all kind of think about it as we prepare to come back on Monday, the biggest question I think that you all had, based off the conversation you and I touched base on yesterday, is who's covered and when.
Mhm.
And so again, I would offer that anyone who's been vaccinated ends up being quarantined because they contract COVID, whether it's a variant, that's directly attributable to their employment. Contact tracing says it happened during the actions of their duty day.
Mhm.
I think we would be open to a conversation about coverage and compensation. Or let me rephrase that they would not lose their initial 10 or 15 days.
Their sick
whatever it
time.
was you guys renegotiated last time. Anyone who's medically fragile and has a medical contradiction that precludes them from being vaccinated. Again, if their contact tracing identifies it occurred on campus, I think we'd be open to that conversation as well. So you guys can start thinking through those options. I know you and I talked about, well, what about children? My concern with that becomes I'm now paying two people. I have to pay a sub and I gotta pay, essentially paying the teacher to be at home. I don't want to be disrespectful, but there are some limitations. And I think a lot of this will be clarified tomorrow. But honestly, if the governor and the DOE say that we are not to contact trace and quarantine close contacts who are asymptomatic, then quite honestly, a lot of this goes away for those types of scenarios. But then I know you and I talked about, and I just today planted the seed this morning with my team. What are the options if someone were quarantined at home because of their child, but were willing to remote into their classroom
Mhm.
and still teach? And I know we had some mixed reactions when we discussed this with building administrators, so I'd like us to talk more about this in preparation for Monday. But if I recall our conversation correctly, those are the three options we're
Yeah.
exploring right now.
Mr. Hyde, what about religious exemptions for the vaccination?
I'm not aware of any, but if there are, I think that falls more under ADA and other issues. So I would rely on Tedra and the team to tell me what our legal obligations are there.
Yeah, I think I would have to research that. I don't want to say it off the cuff.
I'm not familiar with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of any either for religious exemptions for
Well,
that.
I know we have them for students.
So are
can
we,
look at it. Absolutely.
do we want to schedule a time then on Monday to block it off?
Yeah. So the same time works for me if you want to do the early
12
afternoon. Yeah. I like 12:30 just because of.
Oh, okay, we can do 12:30. 12:30 to 4,
Here,
Monday here, yeah,
I can come until I have to go.
okay.
I expect.
I'll let Donna know. Do you like
Pam,
spicy?
can you,
Do you like
send a
spicy
deed release for
ones?
the 4? Need to be deed released today.
Oh,
For
She
12.
has those, she has
I guess-
spicy bread and butter ones. I love them.
Let's do 11 to 4 for them too, so we can have a team meeting before. Thank you.
That's what.
For Monday. So Deldrick, Althea, Kim, and Lisa.
What time did you say?
12:30?
We'll be meeting at 12:30, but we'll still meet at 11
Okay.
to do it, to get together and do our team stuff first. Hello? Okay. Hey. All right.
And so we are keeping the subcommittee on.
Yes. Oh, Heather. Oh, she's on the phone. So we are closing out negotiations for today. We will be back Monday, August 2nd at 12:30.